Welcome to those joining us. We'll be starting in 3 minutes. We should have some nice background music in the future. Welcome. I see more people joining us. This is great. One minute to go. Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar, Community-Based Falls Prevention Exercise Programs. I'm Shelley Dallas Smith, Finding Balance Project Coordinator from the Injury Prevention Center, and I will be your host for today. We are pleased to offer you this excellent learning opportunity with our speakers from Primary Care Alberta and the City of Calgary. They will share their specific community-based falls prevention programs, highlighting processes, deliveries, and results. It's my honor to share that the Injury Prevention Center and the University of Alberta are primarily located on lands that are now known as part of Treaties 6, 7, and 8 and homeland of the Métis. We respect the sovereignty, lands, histories, and languages, knowledge systems, and culture of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit nations. So just a few housekeeping things. The webinar will be recorded. Your microphone will be muted and your camera will be disabled for the entire webinar. Through the chat function, you will be able to ask the organizers any technical issues that you may be having. After all three of the presentations are done, there will be time for questions. So please use the Q&A function for your questions. And at that point, I'll read a selection of these and we'll have a Q&A time. After the webinar, near the end of the webinar, we'll be posting a survey in the chat box, if you could please do that. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our first speakers for today, Naomi Fowler and Kathy Gladwin, Health Promotion Facilitators with Primary Care Alberta, Edmonton. So Naomi's an occupational therapist and health promotion facilitator on the Edmonton Zone Population Health Promotion Team. Prior to this position, Naomi worked for over a decade in community settings as a home care OT in Ontario, Connecticut, and Alberta. Many of the clients Naomi worked with experienced a life-altering injury due to a fall or were at risk of falling. This led her to want to be involved in more upstream programming that focused on falls prevention. Naomi enjoys working with different communities throughout Edmonton and empowering individuals to learn new skills so they can continue participating in meaningful occupations throughout their life. In her spare time, Naomi enjoys spending time with her family, running, coaching her kids' ice hockey teams, and playing ball hockey. Now, Kathy Gladwin is also a health promotion facilitator on the Edmonton Zone Population Health Promotion Team. And Kathy has worked in injury prevention since the last millennium, as I have. We're dating ourselves. After many years at the Injury Prevention Center, Kathy joined Alberta Health Services in 2021. Kathy has contributed to injury prevention in several areas, including policy, analysis and advocacy, knowledge translation, partnership building, program development, and implementation. Kathy has worked on prevention of everything from childhood injuries to older adult falls, advocacy for graduated driver's licensing to bicycle helmet and all-terrain vehicle legislation, policy development for concussion prevention and management, and the safety guidelines for physical activity in Alberta schools. Kathy enjoys downhill skiing, riding her horse, Dylan, scuba diving, and golfing badly, she says. So please welcome Naomi and Kathy.
Thanks very much, Shelley, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank Shelley and the Injury Prevention Center for hosting this forum, and thank you all for attending. As Shelley mentioned, I am Kathy Gladwin, and I'm here with my colleague Naomi Fowler to talk to you about the Not Falling for You community fall prevention program that we have implemented for older adults in and around Edmonton. Today, we will introduce you to the Not Falling for You program. We will describe to you the model that we have created and used to deliver the program. We will show you some key outcomes we have seen and what people are saying about their experiences with the program. And we will conclude by sharing some of the things that we have learned that might help you in your efforts. I'm sure you all know why we are working to prevent falls. 1 in 3 seniors will suffer a fall each year, and these falls can change how and where older adults are able to live. But falls don't have to be a part of aging. Through strength and balance training, falls can be prevented. So this is what Not Falling for You, or NIFI as we call it for short, is about. Not Falling for You is a community-based physical activity and education program offered in local facilities at low or no cost to the participants. It is designed for community-dwelling older adults currently at low or moderate risk of falling. The exercises are based on the latest research on falls prevention and are delivered by trained volunteer peer leaders. The program is accessible and welcoming to seniors, whether or not they have a history of participating in group exercise programs or not. The program is intended to fill that gap between regular exercise programs offered at gyms and recreation centers and the clinical programs designed for those who fall more frequently. When we first were developing the program in 2022, we learned of a similar program operating in New Brunswick called Zoomers in Balance. Zoomers has been offered throughout New Brunswick for more than 10 years and is coordinated by the University of New Brunswick. We connected with the UNB, and now we use the Zoomers material to train our peer leaders and to give them an inventory of exercises to use in their classes. Through the UNB, we are also connected with the AIMS Research Project, And the project is a collaboration of 4 Canadian universities focused on supporting community-based falls prevention across Canada. And the folks at the UNB ensure that our program content aligns with the current evidence about fall prevention. So each class has 60 minutes of physical activity. The peer leaders plan their classes to include a selection of exercises from the Zoomers inventory. Most exercises work on balance and strength at the same time, and they offer varying degrees of challenge to one's balance. Exercises are progressive so that participants can increase the challenge gradually over time. And each exercise has modifications so that participants can choose a level of difficulty that works for them. Each class begins with a warm-up and ends with a cool-down, like a regular exercise class. Here are a couple of comments that our participants have told us about the exercises. One says that the exercises are easy to follow, using chairs for balance, anyone can participate. And another states that the level was good for me. Other classes can be too exhaustive or aggressive, and it got me moving again and building strength. Classes also include brief practical discussions on falls prevention, covering things like home safety, footwear, the importance of regular vision and medication checks. The discussions use adult learning principles so that participants share their own experiences and knowledge. Participants receive these Finding Balance resources, including the Keeping Well booklet and the Spot the Hazard home safety checklist. And the newly created Actively Aging resource has been especially well received, offering exercises that are very similar to the Zoomers and Not Falling for You exercises, and they can use do these at home. We also have CSEP's Physical Activity for Older Adults handout on safe and effective activity. And participants report making meaningful changes, such as improving the type of footwear they use, getting their vision checks, and addressing home hazards. Notably, 90% report improved falls prevention knowledge through the Not Falling for You program. So thank you to the Finding Balance team. These resources are highly valued by both the participants and the leaders. Now I'll talk a bit about the model we have used to deliver the program. Not Falling for You is built on partnerships. It takes a host organization, one or more peer leaders, and a coordinating organization to make it work. So right now, it is our Edmonton Population Health Promotion team that coordinates the program. It is our role to bring the partners together and form trusting relationships with them and between them. We identify suitable community organizations to act as host organizations for the program. And then we work with the host organizations as they launch and operate the program. Our team also provides the peer leader training sessions and ongoing support for the peer leaders. Preparing the peer leaders is an important part of making the program safe and effective. So our recruitment often starts close to home. Many volunteers come from existing Not Falling for You classes. So these are people who've experienced the program and feel connected to it. We also recruit through our presentations, public health presentations that we make, or community events like health fairs and our local networks. Once someone is interested in Not Falling for You, we offer them the training. Peer leaders are trained using the Zoomers in Balance curriculum. The training includes a half day online component and a full day in-person session. This allows time to learn the material and to practice delivering it safely and confidently. Importantly, the training covers safety, communication, and adapting exercises to meet individual needs. Leaders are given ideas about how to create a welcoming environment for participants who come with different abilities and have different comfort levels. After training, volunteers are given ongoing support. Peer leaders can attend our regularly scheduled online office hours, or we have individual check-ins. We are also available to troubleshoot any issues that arise. This makes it easier for the peer leaders to ask, to talk through their challenges, and to maintain consistency and quality across their classes. So Not Falling for You would not be possible without committed community organization that act as the host organizing the classes. These are different types of community organizations who are hosting Not Falling for You. So holding classes in a familiar place like libraries or community halls reduces the intimidation factor and reduces also transportation barriers. It is great if the host organization can help with the promotion of the program to their members and their surrounding communities. And if possible, if they can handle the registration and communication with the participants during the session. We encourage hosts to offer sessions of 12 weeks in length, but host organizations can choose a length that suits them. And if they can offer multiple sessions, ideally 4 per year, that is even better. But it is up to the host organization to decide based on their capacity what they can offer. All the host organizations we work with are not for-profit organizations. Most have similar organizational priorities relating to seniors, such as an interest in supporting seniors' health and well-being, promoting aging in place, and the empowerment of seniors, as well as supporting volunteerism. The organization's board and membership are in favor of hosting the program. The venue needs to be the right size to hold classes and must be available at no cost to the program. And the venue should be consistently available for classes and accessible for those with some mobility challenges. Free parking adjacent to the venue is also important. The importance of our peer leaders cannot be overstated. Peer leaders do a number of tangible things to make the program happen. They, of course, plan the classes using the Zoomers inventory. They show up each week and deliver the class. They help with the administration, taking attendance, collecting waivers, and distributing surveys. And they lead the discussions about falls prevention topics. But more than that, they create welcoming and friendly environments. They connect with the participants on their health journeys, and they empower the participants to improve their mobility and their quality of life. All this while fostering a sense of community and belonging. Truly, they are the heart of the program. The Not Falling for You peer leader model makes all this possible, and this is something that really sets our program apart. This approach helps build trust and relatability among the people involved who start the program as strangers and then grow to become friends. Participants feel comfortable joining and sticking with the program that is led by someone who looks like them, moves like them, and understands their daily routines and challenges. The model is empowering for participants and empowering for peer leaders. It creates meaningful leadership opportunities for older adults to contribute their time, skills, and experiences. We have seen peer leaders grow and expand their comfort levels as they find meaning in leading the Not Falling for You classes. We want to highlight that what peer leaders say about the program. As we mentioned earlier, they really are the heart of Not Falling for You. One thing worthy of noting is that nearly all leaders who have begun teaching a class continue to lead through multiple sessions. Many have added additional classes to their schedule. Several have also taken on informal mentorship roles, welcoming and supporting new peer leaders by inviting them to observe or co-lead in their classes. Here's what some of the peer leaders have shared with us. This is so much more than an exercise program. It's really building community here. One leader shared, "I will keep doing this even if the group is small because it's important to them and they want to keep going. It matters." We also hear how meaningful the experience is for the peer leaders themselves. As one person said, "I don't think I've told you how good this is, how important it is for peer leaders too. I'm always learning now, and I want to keep learning." Naomi and I have heard this many times. Peer leaders say this is not something they ever imagined themselves doing, but they have stepped outside their comfort zone, taken the training, and they now lead a course and are genuinely glad that they did because of how much they get out of it. Overall, the voices highlight that the program is meaningful to the people involved, and this is what will support the program's long-term sustainability and impact. And finally, a bit about how the program has progressed. We started with small, literally, with one community league, one community champion, and 7 willing participants. We have grown over the past 3.5 years at a pace that we've been able to manage, and we've been able to listen to the participants and adapt the program to suit different situations. We've successfully implemented Not Falling for You in several communities in Edmonton and the surrounding region. Every community is a little different, and meeting communities where they are at has been important. The program has moved from urban to suburban to rural settings with relative ease, and we've been able to be intentional about working with each group, refining Not Falling for You to allow it to work for each community while keeping the core elements of the program consistent. What we've found is that the model itself is flexible and scalable, and it can be adjusted based on capacity and community needs. So now Naomi will tell you about the outcomes we've seen.
Great. Thanks, Kathy. So I'll start by going over some of our more recent outputs from the winter 2026 session. So these were classes that would have been held in January to March or April earlier this year. So in total, we had 18 different host organizations or sites across Edmonton Zone, and actually one in Central Zone too, hosting classes, and they range from as far west as Seba Beach, and then Spruce Grove and St. Albert, to South Cooking Lake in Strathcona County, and Fort Saskatchewan, more northeast of the city, and then of course many other communities as well in Edmonton. So several of these host organizations had such a high demand for the class that they now offer multiple classes running on different days of the week. And in total, we had 23 classes on any given week this past winter. All right. In terms of our participants, so these numbers are coming from our winter sessions again. We had about 340 seniors who were participating in NIFI on any given week. And the average age of participants was 77 years old. And the ages range from actually 54 to 95. And yes, we had several 95-year-olds and quite a few individuals in their late 80s and 90s participating. The majority of participants and peer leaders are female, which is pretty consistent across what the AIMS research team is finding, that these programs generally attract female, but that's not to say we don't have males participating, and we do have some men leading groups as well. So to evaluate the program's impact, we had decided back when we were doing our pilot to use two simple evidence-based measures, the timed up and go, or TUG, and the 30-second sit to stand test, just to get a general sense of assessing mobility, strength, and fall risk. So starting with the TUG, this is a quick measure of functional mobility. So if you're not familiar with it, the participant sits in a chair, they're asked to stand, walk 3 meters, turn around, walk back to the chair, and sit. So in the literature, scores over 13.5 seconds are associated with a higher fall risk. What you're seeing on your screen right now are not the raw scores. These are the scores converted into whether people were low fall risk or fall risk at baseline and then after the program. So first of all, I just want to point out that we can see the participants are largely who the program is designed for. At baseline, about 90% of the participants coming to the program would be considered a low fall risk. And then importantly, we also see a shift from higher to lower fall risk after the program, with more participants completing the TUG in 13.5 seconds or less at the end of the session, suggesting some meaningful improvements in mobility. Now, these are the raw scores taken. So this is for 234 participants, and it shows the pre-post raw score measures. So the TUG times improved by an average of 1.07 seconds, about an 11% change, decreasing from 9.69 seconds at baseline to 8.62 seconds post-program. So this indicates improved overall mobility for participants. And importantly, as I already mentioned, this was already a relatively high functioning group, which was our target population, yet we still saw consistent improvements. So this chart is showing performance on the 30-second sit to stand test. So this one, just very quickly, a participant has their arms crossed at their chest, they're sitting on a chair, and we time for 30 seconds and count how many times they can get up and down from the chair. And these scores are compared to age and gender-based norms for community dwelling older adults, again, based on the research. And so what you're seeing here are those scores converted to whether for their age and gender, people are below average, average, or above average. And we can see that participants started at various levels coming into the program. To orient you, teal represents people who were below average. The dark blue or navy color is within their expected age range for age and gender. And then the gray are those above average. And again, we see that participants are largely who the program is designed for, with most people either performing at average or above average. Before the program, 20% were below expected average for age and gender, indicating they could be at risk for falls. And then after the program, that dropped to 13%, so a clear shift overall. And fewer participants were below average, and notably, nearly twice as many were performing above average. Sometimes I can't click on the one screen, sorry. So these are the raw scores of the sit to stand, the averages. So the average number of sit to stand repetitions across all participants, this was with 194 data points, was 12.07 repetitions at baseline, and that increased to 13.83 post-program, an improvement of about 15%. Suggesting a meaningful enhancement in lower body strength across participants. And this is important because, as we know, lower body strength is very closely tied to everyday function, from getting up from a chair, getting off a toilet, going up and down stairs, and maintaining independence at home. So along with the quantitative outcomes, we've also gathered feedback directly from participants themselves through a survey, and this feedback really helps bring the impact of the program to life. Participants frequently tell us that they feel stronger, steadier, and more confident. Based off of 413 surveys when this was last analyzed, we had 96% reporting they have improved their balance and strength, 95% reporting they are more confident walking in their community and feel like they've reduced the likelihood of a fall. And importantly, these changes have translated into real functional improvements in daily life. For example, participants have shared comments like, when I was on vacation, I was able to walk 8,000 steps a day. I couldn't do that before. I can now keep up with my grandchildren when I pick them up after school. And I signed up for other classes because I feel like I can do them now. These comments highlight how participation in the program benefits people beyond the improved test scores. We also hear that Not Falling for You goes beyond the physical improvements. Many participants talk about the social connection the program creates and describe the classes as fun and something they genuinely look forward to every week. Participants have shared comments like, "It's a good way to meet people in the community and a great learning experience. Our classes developed a real sense of community. I've made new and caring friends." Oh, I went out of order. Sorry. "I thoroughly enjoyed meeting seniors in the neighborhood." And finally, "It really created a sense of community. We do more together now." And along these lines, we see this play out in very real, tangible ways. In several communities, groups have gone on to create walking groups, social hours, and even phone trees to check in on one another outside of the class. In this way, Not Falling for You often becomes a starting point, something that builds connection and grows into much more than the program itself. And okay, so at the risk of sounding like shameless self-promoters, we wanted to highlight that there is a strong desire for a program like this within communities, expressed directly by seniors themselves. We've heard comments like, "This should be in every community league. All seniors should have access to a class like this. Please provide more activities like this in the future. I think everyone should attend. I tell everyone about it." Participants clearly recognize the value the program brings both to them as individuals and to their communities. So what does this all have to do with health promotion? How does it fit in with actions and principles that we know if you're in a similar role? Well, at its core, NIFI is about enabling and empowering older adults to increase control over their health by building practical skills that support everyday life. And we see that same empowerment in the program, in the volunteers who deliver the program, as Kathy mentioned earlier. It strengthens community action through partnerships with local organizations, making falls prevention a shared responsibility and not just a healthcare system task. The program helps individuals develop personal skills, as we've talked quite a bit about, and connects people to other resources and supports. It reduces barriers and promotes equity. It's low cost or free. It's offered in familiar local spaces and designed to feel welcoming. It's also adaptable to different populations, including language and cultural considerations. It creates supportive environments. Participants often tell us they come for the exercise, but they stay for the social aspect and the sense of belonging. And finally, NIFI helps reorient health services by moving prevention upstream. It's intended to complement skilled therapeutic and clinical care, not replace it, helping to increase capacity of the healthcare system. So what have we learned? So to wrap up, I'll leave you with some key lessons we've learned along the way. For us, we felt that starting with an evidence-based program design really mattered. Building on an existing proven model helped shape the outcomes we've seen, and it helped lend credibility to a program like this and keep the programming more consistent. Peer leadership is key. Kathy spoke quite a bit about this, but it increases accessibility, makes programs more relatable, and supports sustainability of the program. The peer leaders are truly valued by participants and communities, and they play a big role in the program's success. And along those lines, it's really important to invest time and support of the peer leaders in a program like this. Partnerships are essential. They drive reach, uptake, and long-term sustainability. Definitely from our perspective, finding the right partners at the right time has made a huge difference in the program's growth. Grounding the program in health promotion principles strengthens both its impact and fit with community settings. Low-cost delivery is certainly possible. We started with this idea in our time, and it's really grown from there. However, grants can enhance and expand the work that can be done. And finally, it does take time. As you heard Kathy mention, we started with one group and 7 participants. So building relationships, adapting to community needs, and allowing the program to grow organically does take time. But when those pieces all come together, the momentum builds. And we found that the demand is certainly there for a program like this. So, all right, coming to the end of our time. If this type of program is intriguing to you, you want to learn more, I have a few things you could consider looking into. You can certainly explore the NIFI webpage, which is hosted by Finding Balance, or check out the AIMS and Zoomers websites to learn more about the program and its evidence base. You can, I highly recommend you review the Zoomers implementation manual. This is a manual that has been developed by Zoomers, the Zoomers team specifically for hosts or coordinating organizations looking to implement an evidence-based falls prevention program. It gives a really practical sense of what's involved in getting started. Connecting with the AIMS team is another great step. They've been instrumental in supporting our implementation here in Alberta, well, in Edmonton. And finally, if you're interested more locally, please feel free to set up a meeting with NIFI coordinators, that's me or Kathy, and we can talk through what this could look like in your community. So these are all great kind of starting points if you're interested in this program. So thank you so much for tuning in today and to Finding Balance for giving us the time and space to talk about the program.
Well, thank you. And you're welcome. And we appreciate the Finding Balance resources are highly incorporated into the classes in the format. So thank you both, Naomi and Kathy. Your presentation has provided us with a really good understanding of NIFI and how it has grown and flourished, and the importance of volunteers and a peer leader model of practice, and just with your passion and your leadership, your knowledge, your facilitation, those community development skills, and kind of creating and maintaining those partnerships and collaborations. You've definitely done some really good work here, and we really appreciate you sharing that with us today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so if people have questions, remember we'll be doing the Q&A after all 3 presentations, but make sure you put those questions in the Q&A. So our next speaker is Andy Kitchen. And Andy is a clinical exercise physiologist, a certified strength and conditioning specialist, and Fitness Alberta leader and trainer. And Andy has been a recreation program specialist supervising community fitness programs for 18 years, and is also the creator of the City of Calgary Gentle Fitness Program model, which she is going to talk about today. So, known for her high energy, she has a passion for creating individual, inclusive, and fun-filled fitness environments that offer appropriate challenges for each individual. And welcome, Andy, and we're good to go with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. I'll just get my screen share up and rolling here, and we'll be good to go. Perfect. You should have my screen there. If not, please let me know.
It's
Hello,
there.
my friends. Perfect. Thank you, Shell. As mentioned, my name is Andy. My pronouns are she and her, and I have the privilege of being born and raised within the beautiful Treaty 7 area, where the prairies meet the foothills and the mountains here in South Central Alberta. Today, I'm here to chat to you about the City of Calgary Gentle Fitness Programming Model and how this ties into having appropriate fitness classes for people depending on their levels. And that, of course, includes fall prevention for all. So when we're talking about gentle fitness program, I'd like you to bring to mind anyone who you could think of who may have a barrier to a general fitness class. Could be an aging parent, could be someone dealing with an injury, could be yourself, could be someone dealing with health issues. Within City of Calgary and our recreation programs, we have appropriate classes for all of these people, and we've developed an easy way for participants to ensure that they are getting themselves into an appropriate class for themselves. So today, my plan for you is we're going to take a quick review of the City of Calgary history and how we developed this gentle fitness model. We're going to differentiate between these 3 gentle fitness levels, and more importantly, going to look into the populations that each of these programs serve. And we're going to talk a little bit about the staff training that we have for our gentle fitness instructors. So, City of Calgary, like many municipal organizations, has always had gentler options for our fitness classes. And within these levels, we are looking to address all ages and all abilities. But gentle is not necessarily the same for each individual. So I'd like to just think to yourself and call to mind, when I say gentle fitness, what type of person or what type of population or who do you picture when I say something like that? There's many types and many levels of intensity that might fall themselves into gentle fitness. So because of a long-standing partnership that we have had with the Alberta Health Services, the Alberta Healthy Living Program, when we had some AHS staff coming, they were coming to us and saying, listen, we're having difficulty prescribing graduates of their program into the community classes, because who's coming out of their health classes were very different than what community level should I bring them into. And this was kind of 2015, 2016-ish. So when they came to me and we're chatting about this, I thought, well, gosh, we do want to make sure that people are getting themselves into their most appropriate class. So this was the impetus of creating this whole gentle fitness model. So I would like to introduce to you some fictional participants that we might encounter within our classes. So the first person I'm going to introduce to you here is Bill. Bill may use a walker or a cane. He may be using oxygen, supplemental oxygen. He may have various sources of pain, maybe some arthritis, maybe some fibromyalgia, chronic pain. He might have a fear of exercise. He would possibly be using Access Calgary, and Access Calgary is within City of Calgary, our assisted travel that we have available through City of Calgary Transit. And within those transportation systems, it might be a full day commitment to sign up, get on Access, take that travel to class, be in his class and come home. That may be a full day commitment that he's giving to being out. And if you can imagine for him that whole day, how that might impact his fatigue level overall. He's probably deconditioned and maybe showing signs of or living with some frailty. And for Bill and similar participants like him, within 15 minutes, he will be seeing and feeling full signs of fatigue within his body. So within 15 minutes, 0 to 15 minutes of doing physical activity, he's probably going to be like tapping out, I need a timeout. So it's important to know for Bill and people similar to him that excessive expenditures of energy can negatively affect their quality of life. So one of the things that I noted that Catherine was saying, one of the pieces of feedback that people were saying to them within this program, I'm not too fatigued. I love this. This is something that we have often run into. People coming in, they want to exercise. They're told, I need to exercise. But when they come to their class, if they're spending too much energy into that class, they may be excessively fatigued to be able to accomplish the rest of activities they need to do to live their life, to do their activities of daily living. So that's something we're acutely aware of when we're looking at participants like Bill. So for Bill and participants like him, we're looking for our biggest improvements in quality of life probably to come from improvements of posture and alignment. This helps us twofold. We're seeing a decrease of pain when we're not in chronically stressed positions, especially through that spine. And of course, I'm sure I don't need to tell any of you that when we get ourselves out of those alignments, of course, we're getting ourselves into a risk of fall because we're no longer into a nice stacked, balanced position within our body. So of course, we're going to look at doing some strengthening exercises for these groups. It's going to help to bring them back into alignments, decreasing their discomfort, decreasing their chance of fall. And of course, we have the social aspects of the classes that are important for them. Another example of a participant could be our friend Ted here. So Ted may have fewer physical limitations to being into a class than Bill. He may use a mobility aid, may have some pain, may be slightly deconditioned like level 1, but he would have a higher level of conditioning that he would be able to be out and about doing some physical activity for probably maybe close to 30 minutes. We'll say between 15 and 30 minutes, he's going to tap out and say, okay, I need to take a seat. I'm getting fatigued. For Bill and people like him, the biggest improvements in their quality of life would be looking to improve our functional capacity for activities of daily living. So we're talking about strength that's going to help to benefit them in doing their activities, getting up and down the stairs, carrying groceries in from the car, being able to lift things to be able to put them away into cupboards, etc. We're going to look at doing a little bit of cardiovascular activity so that we have also that conditioning to accomplish what we're doing, and of course, some balance. For these groups as well, we want to look into learning to modify and select for themselves how much energy should they be expending, what should I be choosing for my own intensity level right now. A third common participant who we might see into our programs would be like Linda here. So Linda has very few limitations to being active, beyond, of course, the general aches and pains of being alive that we all experience, of course. She probably enjoys moving, enjoys the social environment of coming to a fitness class with her peers and being in a class where she can feel both successful and appropriately challenged. So she feels like she's getting some benefit out of the class and feeling the enjoyment of feeling fit and strong. When we look at all three of these examples of participants, we need to make sure that we have classes that are on an appropriate intensity level for each one of these participants. If the class is too low of a challenge for Linda, she might find it too easy and not come back. If it's too high of a challenge, especially for Bill or Ted, we might have negative health consequences for them, and then they're definitely not going to come back. So similar to the feedback that we were getting from AHS staff, we were also finding that some participants were not always knowing what classes to go to. And if they went to a class that had a similar title from one facility to another or from one instructor to another, there could be very different intensities, even within a class with a similar title. So we found this was very problematic, especially for people who may have a lower functioning level. So in 2017, we took all of our classes that were currently classified as a gentle fitness program, and we stratified those classes into a level 1, 2, or 3. These classes are based on our self-assessed functional abilities, and it's not a specific age or condition. So these programs, long ago, we would have called these seniors fitness classes, and then we started calling them gentle fitness classes, acknowledging that it's not just seniors who may require a modified exercise regime. And we give very specific parameters to each one of these levels to ensure that we have a safe intensity regardless of what instructor or what location this is taught at. So let's take a look at what the specifics are for each one of these levels. So our level 1 would be a class that would be most appropriate for Bill. The focus of these class is to look at our postures and our alignments. And again, so a reminder for Bill, we're looking at people who have a significant limitation to exercise. So when we say that someone is capable of doing kind of 0 to 15 minutes of physical activity, the example that I like to use is to say, let's say that we're at the mall and we're just doing a bit of shopping. Within 0 to 15 minutes, a level 1 participant is going to be scanning around and looking for one of those little areas in the middle of the mall that has like the couches that you can sit down on. You know what I mean? So this is going to be within that 15 minutes time out. I need to have a seat, whether it's from fatigue, discomfort, in the back, the spine, the knees, whatever it may be, breath, I need to have a seat. Great. So that's kind of our picture there, 0 to 15 minutes. They may have some mobility issues, maybe at a risk of a fall, and maybe using some mobility aids. So our level 1 classes are these slow-paced exercise classes, and they're mostly seated. The exception of that is when we invite participants to come up to work on some of our standing exercises, specifically for balance and some walking opportunities. The class is going to start off with a 10 to 15-minute warm-up, which is done as a head-to-toe, joint-by-joint movement and wake-up. I'm sure you are all familiar with one of my most favorite phrases, which is, of course, that a little bit of motion is lotion. So we go for some motion is lotion, head-to-toe, joint-by-joint movement, waking up that body, getting our bodies moving in that social, calm, and relaxed environment. As mentioned, Bill and many people who are living with the same barriers to being fit that Bill is, exercise might be a scary thing. The idea of exercising could be scary. And so we make sure that these classes are starting off in a calm, comfortable, non-threatening way to make sure we're making our stress response low so that we can have a better adaptation to the exercises we're doing. Once we've done that beautiful warm-up, we take a break, we have a breath, a sip of water, and then we get ourselves into doing a combination of some strength movement, pardon me, and some cardio movement. Our strength movement are going to be enhancing participants' ability to bring their bodies into taller postures and to work on balance in order to do their tasks of daily living. Any of the cardio components that we do are going to be continuous movement. And I like to encourage my instructors to think of them as activity bouts versus a cardio component. But within the fitness industry, you would call it the cardio component of the class. These are short. Reminder, these participants are going to hit fatigue in 0 to 15 minutes. So in these level 1 classes, we're doing bouts of continuous activity that are no more than 2 to 5 minutes. There might be 2 to 3 bouts within a class, but the individual bout is going to be no more than 2 to 5 minutes. Just as someone who's training for a marathon is going to do shorter training bouts, they're not going to run a marathon every day in their training. For these folks, 15 minutes is our marathon. So we're not going to get close to that marathon within our regular activity. We're doing those 2 to 5 minutes so that our folks can leave at the end of the day having enough energy to successfully live the rest of their day. Of course, we have a wonderful cool down and stretch. Within these classes, the education components is looking at decreasing our fear of physical activity and building some movement confidence. Our classes are going to include those breath breaks, decreasing that sympathetic response, and of course, a lot of social component and chit chat within the class is often encouraged and facilitated by our instructors. So that's our level 1. Our level 2 classes would be someone like our friend Ted. So reminder with Ted, some limitations to exercise, capable of about that 15 to 30 minutes of continuous activities, but then we're starting to get that, reaching that fatigue level. And there may be some mild to moderate balance and or mobility issues. Again, there might be use of a mobility aid or not. So our goal with this group is to really take a look at our functional movements and increasing functional capacity for our activities of daily living. Balance and mobility, muscular strength to accomplish these tasks of daily living, and of course, a little bit of aerobic endurance. Our level 2 classes start off very similar, if not exactly the same as our level 1 classes. Although our level 2 classes offer both seated and standing components to them, we start off seated. doing that same joint by joint movement. And at the end of the warm-up, participants are invited to come to a standing option if that's feeling good for them. Our instructors always give both a seated and a standing option for everything that we're doing, because a main part of the education within this class is letting the participant learn to check in with themselves and say, should I come to a seated option for myself right now, or should I be at a standing option? I have the autonomy and the power to choose that. What do I want to choose for my body today? Our strength, where we might get ourselves into doing 1 to 2 sets of 8 to 15 repetitions. And again, we're selecting exercises that are going to work towards those increase in functional capacity for those activities of daily living and working for maintaining our independence. Our bouts of cardiovascular activities are going to be longer because, of course, our folks in this group have that current capacity that's higher. So we'll be looking at doing 5 to 15 minutes. And there may be 2 to 3 bouts. We're going to work within these groups to increase our total in time before intensity. Of course, we also have a wonderful cool down and stretch. And within these, we're going to also have the social component, and options are always provided for everybody for our level 2 classes. Okay, let's take a look at level 3. Level 3, reminder for Linda, very few limitations to being active, capable of doing 30 plus minutes of continuous activity, and no significant mobility issues. So my dad, for example, loves to attend our level 3 classes. He's 76. He blew out his ankles, so he's got maybe not great stability because he had one of his ankles rebuilt and chose not to do the other one, so he's not super stable. Dealing with an old injury on his leg that's irritating his knee right now. But these are the kind of classes that he comes to because otherwise he's very fit, very active, and wants to maintain that level of activity as he continues to age. So class components for Linda or my pops would be coming to these classes that are our moderately paced exercise classes. And when I say moderately paced, I'm saying that in comparison to what we would consider our general fitness activities. These components of our classes will still have some challenges, which I'll mention to you in a second. So these are our standing classes. General fitness classes, generally low impact, but we might have some opportunities to have a bit of impact. For example, if you're familiar with coming up to toes and then doing a drop, so up to our toes and drop back down to our heels, where we get a little bit of bone density increases without having to do actual jumping impact, which our bodies may not be feeling ready for in these level 3 classes. We do have that, again, that wonderful 5 to 10 minute warm up, but the warm up is different here. We're looking at increases in ranging of movement, increasing our heart rate, increasing our breathing rate, bringing up that body temperature, all of these things that we would consider within our general fitness class, but just modified appropriately for these folks. Strength training, maybe 2 to 3 sets, and we're looking at that 8 to 15 reps range. And again, functional capacity, activities of daily living, and maintaining our independence. However, because these folks are often a bit stronger than our level 2s, we may be encouraging using higher weights, greater resistant bands, and or increasing range of motion where appropriate for comfort of the body. Our cardio components are longer, so we're into those 10 to 30 minutes of continuous activity, and again, looking to increase time before intensity. But we do have varying intensity. So within our level 1s, I like to say we're kind of down here in just this narrow band. Our level 2s have a little bit of a wider band of intensity options. In our level 3s, we get a broader band of intensity options because we have fewer barriers to being active. With these folks, we do challenge them with some appropriate intervals, with getting some challenges to increase our strength, both physically and cardiovascularly. And our education in here, we're talking about managing our wellness, how our fitness impacts our quality of life, etc. Social interactions, of course, are also facilitated in this, and I would encourage you, if you're looking to increase social components within your class, take a look at some of the work and research that's been done by Megan and some of her at University of Calgary and some of her students, Bobby Ann Craig and Vanessa Paglioni. We did another Finding Balance webinar that you could find, I'm sure, on their website back in November, I believe it was, about the wonderful research they've been doing on the social component of fitness. Okay. That's been a lot of information. How are we doing? Let's take a breath. So we've got level 1, mostly seated classes. Level 2, combination of seated and standing. Level 3, standing. Level 1, 0 to 15 minutes is what our current barrier to currently being after. So that's our tap out. Level 2, maybe we can be active for up to 30 minutes and then I need to take a break. Level 3, we're able to do 30 minutes or more, no problem. I call these folks our active agers and gentle movers that don't make me jump up and down fitness. That's what I like to call them. Okay. So let's take a look for these folks about how one knows what level class they're coming to when they're signing up with our classes. It's listed in the title. So all of our titles of our classes have bracket, Gentle 1, Gentle 2, or Gentle 3 listed to them. So these are 3 examples of classes that I picked that all include some form of strength listed in them. So if I was to look at Strong and Steady without the gentle title beside it, Balance and Strength and Stretch, and they're all listed as gentle, I may not as a participant know which one is appropriate for me. But when we put in the title what those levels are, then my participants and my clinicians, et cetera, who are referring participants to being active are confident that they are referring themselves or a participant to an appropriate class. So within City of Calgary, we have 13 sites, and we have, I believe at our last check, we had about 62 gentle fitness instructors who teach classes at these 13 different sites. So we need to ensure that there is consistency for the prescription of our sets and our reps, and our intensity levels are maintained from site to site and class to class. All of our instructors must do some additional training with us before they're able to lead the gentle fitness. So much as Catherine and Naomi were talking about training their instructors for their NIFI program, we also have some training to ensure that our instructors are leading the classes appropriately within these levels. So all of our instructors, before they're hired with us with City of Calgary, they need to have a Fitness Alberta or equivalent fitness instructor certification with an older adult designation. Now, reminder, our gentle fitness programming is not just for older adults. However, the older adult certification teaches instructors about leading programs for those who may have barriers to being fitness, as is often seen in an aging body, or those who require a gentle fitness routine. We have then developed an e-course that folks take that helps them to understand the programming levels, the specifics of each level, some of those things that I shared with you, sets, reps, intensities, cardiovascular time, etc. And really understanding what I like to call the ceiling. That ceiling level of our level 1s can go up to this intensity, our level 2s can come up to this intensity, and our level 3s can come up to this intensity. And there's various quizzes through this e-course that they do to make sure that they intellectually are understanding the material. To make sure that they can do this in practice, we have them shadow with one of our other instructors for each level that they're going to teach. And then when they're teaching their first class, one of our supervisors, like myself, comes out and observes them teaching that level to really make sure that they are understanding and demonstrating the skills to teach that level so that we know for sure that our participants are being entered into a safe exercise environment. So now I'd like to share with you where our participants or you could get more information on these levels. If you were to type in calgary.ca/gentlefitness, all one word, there's going to be some more information, some general information about these levels. So you can refer back to that if you're looking at, how you might build something like this in your area. And then all of our programs are listed under Live and Play, which is where our participants go to register for programs and sign up for our classes. And they can also do this by calling into our customer service center, because not all of our folks are super excited about using computers, but as time goes on, more and more people are feeling more and more comfortable with that. Most of our programs do tend to be drop-in versus registered programs, and that simply has to do with our fee assistance program that we have for anybody who may be facing financial barriers to being active. City of Calgary has a fee assistance program, and there is unlimited visits into our drop-in program. So most of our drop-in fitness class, or pardon me, most of our gentle fitness classes are drop-in programs, but we do have some that are registered programs as well. And if you're interested in those, you can take a look onto the Live and Play website, and that will give you through, you can cruise through and see what are some of the program titles, what are the descriptions, etc. And as I said, any questions that you may have, feel free to make a note of those. We can put those into the Q&A, and you can ask those to us later.
Well, Andy, that's fantastic. That's I wish all of the municipalities had those kinds of, levels in their programming that makes it easier for people to understand, kind of where they fit or where they see themselves. So yeah, thank you for providing such a good understanding of the Gentle Fitness program with the different levels and the breakdown that that's just the additional explanation that makes it really clear, makes sense, and easy for people to understand as well. And just the span of the program moving across the city, I think that's just that's brilliant. That's amazing, and just that additional training being provided, and the overall value and impact on the participants, really empowering them within this program. So that's great. Thank you very much. And um, we'll get back to Andy if you have questions that you want to put in the Q&A, and we'll move on here to our next presenters. So our final presenters are Megan Berland and Melissa Schlenker, both health promotion facilitators with Primary Care Alberta in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. And so with unique backgrounds, they come together to offer programming to their communities that are both educational and engaging. Through her rich experience in health promotion, Megan's work has focused on injury prevention, spanning all stages of life, and includes a special passion for work in tobacco reduction. Utilizing the latest data and research, Megan is helping to shift the healthcare landscape to prevention and promotion. With a background in recreation therapy and fitness leadership, Melissa has supported diverse populations across multiple settings, including working with older adults, community-based recreation therapy, and stroke rehabilitation. New to the health promotion scene, she's eager to combine her previous experience with a focus on preventative care. Megan and Melissa enjoy facilitating Steady Moves as they are passionate about working in community and empowering clients to take steps to protect themselves from preventable injuries, build confidence and stay active. Welcome, Megan and Melissa.
Thank you very much, Shelley. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Just let me know if anything strange happens. Does that look okay?
Yes.
Great. So hello, everybody. We're so pleased to be here today and present on Steady Moves, a program that we've been coordinating in Southern Alberta for the past year or so. I would like to thank the presenters who have already presented this morning. I know I picked up many ideas from excellent programs you offer to your community, so thank you for that. Thank you to Shelley and Finding Balance for the land acknowledgement that started our time here together this morning. Melissa is joining today from Medicine Hat, and I'm based in Lethbridge. So we would like to acknowledge that we are gathered and joining today from the traditional meeting place and home for the many Indigenous people, including Blackfoot, Stoney Nakoda, Tsuut'ina, Inuit, and Métis people identified in Treaty 7 and the Otipemisiwak Métis government of the Métis Nation within Alberta. So as mentioned, I am a health promotion facilitator with Primary Care Alberta based in Lethbridge, and I've included a photo here of one of the ways that my family enjoys staying active on the right there. We know that our participants are more likely to meaningfully engage in physical activity if we find, or if they find something that they enjoy. For me, I have a young daughter and she has been running ever since the day she started walking. So we've been following her pretty closely since that day. It occurred to us early on that she was much less likely to hurt herself when she was running on shale paths or grass. So we frequent this path in the Lethbridge River bottom near Helen Schuler Nature Center. It features a nice shale path instead of cement, which is ouch. Beautiful views, of course, wildlife and tranquility. So this has become a special place for our family to stay active and get outdoors. We lovingly refer to this activity as visiting the chickadees. And I'll pass it over to Melissa to introduce herself.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Melissa Schlenker, and as mentioned, I'm a health promotion facilitator with Primary Care Alberta, based out of Medicine Hat. Prior to my role in health promotion, I worked as a recreation therapist, which is where my passion for working with older adults was definitely sparked. Teaching functional fitness was always a favorite part of my role as rec therapist. In my spare time, I enjoy staying active, doing just about anything in the great outdoors. I love running, hiking, biking, paddleboarding, and spending some time with our animals out on the farm. Megan and I are just so thrilled to have all of you here with us today to learn a little bit more about our program, Steady Moves. So, without further delay, let's jump right into our presentation. All right. So I'd like to start things out today by giving a little background on how the Steady Moves program got started. The program was actually created by our coworker and fellow health promotion facilitator, Lisa Doyle. This was in response to a need in our community for falls prevention specific programming. And just as a little aside or disclaimer, you'll have to forgive us if we can't answer some of the questions about the early days of program development. This was definitely Lisa's baby, but we hope we're doing her some justice as she's off in her mat leave right now. Lisa identified that falls are one of the leading causes of injury for older adults and that existing falls prevention programming really only either addressed the issue as part of a broader focus or was kind of just like a one-off type of education session. There's nothing that really gave a true deep dive into the subject. So we've also found that research suggests that quality interventions with a focus on physical activity are more effective than education or environmental strategies alone. So, this is where she decided to connect the two strategies, education and exercise, to create Steady Moves. The program was grounded in evidence-based falls prevention education, as well as strength and balance focused exercises and community partnerships. Steady Moves was originally piloted by Lisa at the Viner Center Senior Center in Medicine Hat in the spring of 2025. The overall objective of the program was to reduce the risk of falls for older adults while improving muscular strength and balance. The target audience for the program was community dwelling older adults, so ages 50 plus, who were able to ambulate independently. Both participant and presenter feedback of this original session were overwhelmingly positive, and since then we have run 4 more sessions at various senior centers around southern Alberta. We've expanded to Redcliffe and Lethbridge with success seen in all offerings.
So as far as the program design, it was designed to take place over the course of 8 weeks. And as Melissa mentioned, so far the host organization has been Seniors Facilities across Southern Alberta, which has worked really well in this case. Each week we host a different guest presenter speaking on their subject of expertise. They present for about 30 minutes, and this is followed by 1 hour of group exercise focused on strength and balance. This model builds in some time to kind of flip the room from education mode to exercise mode, and then frequent rest breaks and water breaks as well. As far as the education component goes, this is something that we're really proud of, the partnerships we've built through this program. Our education sessions were mindfully chosen to address some of the major risk factors contributing to falls, so balance, leg strength, vision, medication, footwear. And some of our presenters have included pharmacy, vision care, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, recreation therapy, foot care, nutrition, exercise physiology, and audiology. So we do use a mix of internal speakers, internal being, internal to Alberta Health Services, Primary Care Alberta, or Recovery Alberta, and community partners as well. And when choosing our community partners and presenters, we reach out first to those who are local to the neighborhood of the program or those who have an existing connection to the partnering agency that's hosting the program. And we really strive to promote connection building and community awareness as much as possible. And that's something that we're really proud of with this program. For the exercise component, we rely on fitness professionals that we partner with on our programs to plan excellent and appropriate fitness classes. These are focused on strength building, balance, and functional fitness. And we search for fitness instructors that have experience and expertise and a passion for older adult fitness. We've been fortunate to partner with some really very talented fitness instructors. And these instructors are experts at providing, optional modifications, and this makes the program as accessible as possible for those who are new to fitness or have special considerations. We'll talk in a few slides about the different types of partnerships that make this fitness component possible. But one thing that all of our fitness instructors have done, which we think is really great, is create kind of like an at-home guide that closely mirrors those exercises that participants are used to doing in class every week. This makes fitness at home more accessible, and participants can walk through the exercises that they are already know and are comfortable with in their home. In some groups, we've used resistance bands as well during our exercise classes, and we were fortunate to be able to gift the bands to participants at the end to take home to continue using through different grant fund opportunities.
So the way that Megan had described our program, it was divided up into 8 weeks. And usually the first week or first session of Steady Moves is our opportunity to share resources and discuss why falls matter, making practical connections to the participants' everyday lives. We utilize the excellent resources from Finding Balance during this session to ensure that participants have what they need to assess their homes for hazards, manage their personal falls risk, as well as continue to make progress with their fitness goals at home. As you can see here on the slide, these are some of the Finding Balance resources that we have used. And I'll just add in a little aside too. We also really love giving out the band booklet too when we've given out the exercise resistance bands to the participants. And again, this just can ensure that they can keep making progress when they're at home. Because this was a new program, evaluation has been really important to us. We continue to strive towards evaluating the program's effectiveness and tweaking it along the way to meet the needs of the community. One tool that we have used is called the Activity-Specific Balance Confidence Scale, which is kind of a mouthful. You can just call it the ABC scale. This tool was used to assess participants' balance confidence before and after completing the sessions of Steady Moves. During a couple of our offerings of Steady Moves, the fitness instructors assessed the participants' mobility and balance using the Timed Up and Go test, so the TUG test. This was done at the discretion of the fitness instructors and was not completed at every location. As a way to evaluate the program's overall structure and content, we invited informal feedback from the participants and presenters throughout all sessions, and especially during the final session, we offered a formal feedback survey to capture participants' progress, as well as any future recommendations for the program. So up on the slide here, you can see this is a copy of the ABC scale that we had used. As you can see, it's quite straightforward. It's quick to administer. The scale helps to measure confidence in performing various tasks without losing balance or experiencing a fall. The participants self-administer the assessment during the first week and the final week of Steady Moves to see if their confidence had increased at all. Most participants we found, they either remained status quo or experienced improvements to their confidence. Status quo results were considered to be positive because that meant that they weren't experiencing any decreases in confidence. Something to note about this scale that we found was that participants' answers were sometimes dependent on external factors such as the weather. For example, during one of the offerings of Steady Moves, the sessions began in autumn and then progressed in with the final session taking place in winter. And we definitely saw how the weather affected the participants' answers to this scale. Some of them were finding that they're rating themselves participating in these activities on ice rather than just looking at their balance as a whole. So that's something to note when using this scale.
And as far as our findings, I think we acknowledge that we're kind of in the early days of evaluating this program. It's just been operating for about a year now, but we have noticed some things that have worked really well. We've mentioned the valuable community connections that have taken place as a result of this program, and that's been one of the major highlights for us to see that connection made between community partners and the participants. So when bringing in speakers, we always are kind of pleasantly surprised to see the number of people who connect after the session, asking for further resources or connecting to book an appointment. After the occupational therapist spoke in one of our groups, one of the participants shared that they had them into their home soon after for an assessment and to install grab bars. Another participant was connected to a vestibular physiotherapy assessment after suffering for many months with dizziness. And many participants expressed interest in joining new exercise opportunities as a result of this program or becoming members of the seniors facilities hosting the program. So that has really warmed our hearts as well. Some participants would take information for a friend, and it was just really wonderful to see the information sharing taking place. As others have mentioned, that social component of this program is invaluable as well, helping to kind of tackle that issue of isolation for the participants as well. It's been extremely well received by the participants. We've had consistent attendance across all of our groups. I'm quite familiar with running groups of different kinds, and the attendance for this group and how consistent it has really surprised and delighted me. And then, as mentioned, we really do think it works well to have participants encouraged to complete exercises at home as well. And that kind of like take home piece of walking through the exercises that they're used to doing in class so that they're able to complete it at home as well. We're always kind of looking towards the future and listening to participant feedback and as far as how to make the program even better and meet the needs of participants. Some things that we're considering as we plan going forward is that funding and sustainability. So in Medicine Hat, the instructor has been hired through the organization Ever Active Schools with the help of community coalition grants. In other communities, the fitness instructor has been coordinated through the senior center that's hosting the program. We even had one program with a volunteer fitness instructor that just had a passion for the subject. We have considered a few ideas for sustainability, including an idea to piggyback on an existing fitness class and just offer the education component like before or after, or look at charging a small registration fee, but we are eager to keep it as accessible as possible. The community partners attending for the education portion have so far provided their time in kind, which has been very appreciated. We are continuing to look at measures to enhance evaluation, or I guess different tools, alternate tools to enhance evaluation efforts, as this is a fairly new program. We have had space constraints in every program that we've run because it's so popular, really. Like these programs are filling up like on registration day in some cases, which is a great problem to have, but we do need space for the education component. So we have had to put caps on our registrations and have wait lists in all programs scheduled. So we have considered the opportunity to like open up just the education segment to anyone who is wanting to attend and then just cap the fitness portion since that's really the only part that needs space so that participants can safely complete their exercises. So that's kind of something we're toying with for the future. Time constraints, again, due to these great conversations that presenters and participants are having, we often run overtime on our education portion. So we've considered expanding the education portion to be a little bit longer, maybe 45 minutes, and then shortening the exercise component. So that's something we're playing with as well. And as far as continuation of the program, many participants do report that they want a continuation of the program. So some things that we're considering when planning for future sessions is the frequency of classes. We know that data supports progress being made when exercise is occurring multiple times a week, as well as looking at something to transition to once the session is over. So in Medicine Hat, they did start a weekly mall walking group after to ensure participants had a way to stay active over winter and connect as a group. So
All right. And just to be respectful of everyone's time, I won't read these all out, but we'd like to leave you with a few testimonials from our Steady Moves participants. We've just been so incredibly happy with how well this has been received in our communities, and we're really looking forward to seeing how this program will grow in the future. Thanks again to Finding Balance for having us here today, and thank you everyone for being here.
Well, thank you both for giving us such a great presentation today and introducing us to Steady Moves and what this all entails. And yeah, thank you for including those Finding Balance resources. You've got a lot of great components in your program, and you know when people attend consistently, that just speaks volumes. And it sounds like you'll continue to grow and are being flexible and adaptable and open as you move forward. So congratulations on getting this program up and running and forging further ahead. Okay, so we'll take questions now. So I'm going to just start at the top. We have a few, not too many questions, so we should be able to get through the questions in the time. So to Naomi and Kathy, the question is, what challenges did you encounter in the development and implementation of NIFI, and how were they addressed?
Yeah, that's such a great question. The very first challenge that comes to mind is way back when this was just the inkling of an idea. So this was back in 2022, was buy-in. We had this idea to have a volunteer-led program, but it was hard to describe what the program would be without really knowing what it would be. So we did do a pilot and we each class, we would focus group and get feedback. And it was really an iterative process getting it started. And then once we connected with the Zoomers team and learned more about their program, that helped tremendously because then we had this exercise inventory we could train our peer leaders in that was evidence-based, and that really helped move things along. And then again, sort of once we got one or two classes going, word spread. And then I'd say now, like there's always like challenges that pop up along the way for sure, but I don't want to monopolize all the time. I'd say now our challenge is, as you saw, we had 18 host organizations and 23 classes and more communities wanting to host this program, is our capacity. So thinking big picture, who's going to take on, like who can help with the behind the scenes admit tasks, and how do we still offer a high quality program and be able to expand it to meet the demand that I think there really is there. So I don't know if that fully answered your question, but those are some things that come to mind. Kathy, do you want to jump in? Is there anything I missed?
No, like we have no budget from Primary Care Alberta to offer anything. So yeah, we have to look for outside outside funding to even like to buy our training binders and host the training sessions. Yeah. So we've used some grant funding for that, but it doesn't go very far.
Good points. Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for your answer. Joyce is wondering where programs are in Edmonton, and I'm wondering if Joyce, if you could email either Naomi and Kathy and get those specific answers. So I think, did you guys have your emails on your presentation? I don't remember, but maybe Marla, you could throw them in the chat box or in here for Joyce to reach out just to save time.
Yeah, we might have not put our emails, but for sure. The only thing I'd say is that I thought Joyce's question came in when Andy was presenting. So I'm not sure if she's speaking more to the.
Oh, well, maybe it was. So
fitness.
it said, yeah, where programs in Edmonton. So
Mhm.
NIFI's in Edmonton and Andy's programs are with the City of Calgary, just to clarify then. Okay, so I think I have a comment here, maybe with a question. Amazing work and presentations. Are all programs presented measuring falls as an outcome measure and changes in falls risk compared to non-participants? Any tips and suggestions around that? Anybody got an answer for that one?
I feel like I've been talking a lot, but well, if I'm getting your question correctly, you're looking for having like a control group, which we don't have. But what I will say is for our program being connected to this larger research group, we are implementing this evidence-based program, and they're collecting data and like longitudinally, and so we can kind of extrapolate our results as similar to theirs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think like the other programs are like individually measuring like people before and after so they can see their success, and their changes in development. Okay, I'm going to move on to the last one here. How does the NIFI Gentle Fitness and Steady Moves compare to the Move and Mingle Fall Prevention Exercise Program, and do they all require certification through Fitness Alberta with their older adult certification in order to teach these programs? I can't speak to Move and Mingle myself. I don't know if anybody else can speak to that. No. Okay, sorry.
Well, Move and Mingle, that's a AHS run program that is done fall prevention, obviously, general fitness. They do require, certainly in Calgary, and I'm assuming it's the same for the rest of the province, they do require the Fitness Alberta certifications for those groups versus obviously Catherine and Naomi, you better answer with the NIFI, but theirs being their peer-led groups. And part of the Move and Mingle as well is that they bring their programs to seniors who may have barriers to getting to locations. So they may go to housing groups and do it within a housing building, for example, as opposed to getting those people to come to a community, because that could be another barrier for that person, that transportation to get to a community location, for example.
We'll have to invite Move and Mingle to present in the future, and then we can get your questions answered. Okay, that's did I have one last if anyone has Move and Mingle questions, there it is. Yeah, please call them at 403-955-1554 and they can answer those questions on the phone or email at moveandmingle@albertaahs.ca.
And that one's in Calgary. I think
yes, it's
I'm
Calgary.
Not an expert like in those programs, but I have had meetings with them. And we also have, I think, a somewhat equivalent program in Edmonton called Step Forward, which is led by kinesiologists and has an education component. So there are lots of options. Not Falling for You is one piece, but there's lots of options. And I would say to Joyce's earlier question, you could check out the City of Edmonton, like their recreation programming, because there are senior fitness programs. I can't comment if they're set up the same way as Andy's amazing program, but like there's lots of options out there depending on
what like we in Alberta we do have a variety of great best practice evidence-based programs. In other countries, something like Australia, they're just going Otago, all across the board for consistency. But okay, that's all the time we have for questions. Thanks very much, everybody. Those great presentations, great learnings today. And Marla's just going to pull up some of our closing slides.